Elder Wang's voice rang out once more. One final slot. Who will step onto the platform? Silence gripped the crowd for a long moment. Then a timid voice squeaked from the Chi Sha Iwan side. I want to try. Is that okay? A female disciple crept onto the arena, head bowed so low she might have been inspecting her own toes, moving like a startled fledgling. Yonglin flicked a glance at her, his face blank. A disciple beside him murmured, "Her name is Kwahng, a new recruit." Cultivation passable, Yonglin gave a shallow nod and his gaze slid back to the unconscious Meng Qin, murderous intent churning in his eyes thick as smoke. On the platform, Elder Wang studied the trembling girl and felt a headache blooming. Just state your background and cultivation level. I'm called Kwahng, 17 years old, from the Springland Kingdom, joined 3 months ago, essence gathering 4th tier. Each word seemed smaller than the last. My senior sister said I had a chance, so... All right, that's enough. Elder Wang cut her off hastily. Laughter burst from the crowd, a pushover who could barely string a sentence together, daring to step up. Challenges rang out, thick and fast. Inside the Chi Sha Iwan ranks, one senior sister's face turned livid, an absolute disgrace. But the moment the first challenger leaped onto the stage, everyone froze. Kwahng's attacks were a flurry of panic, her footwork a stumbling mess, her movements riddled with errors. Yet every time, she slipped past her opponent's strikes by a hair's breadth. Somehow, her chaotic rhythm shredded her opponent's tempo to pieces. After a few exchanges, in the middle of a wild, clumsy burst of fists, he tumbled off the platform. The man stared up, baffled. How did I lose? A second challenger hopped up, and moments later stumbled down just as dazed. A third, a fourth over 10 people in a row, lost in utter confusion. The laughter slowly withered. Yana Murong frowned deeply. Something's off this girl. She finds order inside chaos, forcing everyone into her rhythm, so they can barely use half their strength. Kael nodded coolly. Looks like disordered flailing, but there's a hidden pattern in the mess. A fascinating person. Beside them, Murong Iwan gave a dismissive wave. Once the secret realm opens, a few geniuses always pop up. But compared to you two, she's still far behind. Kael didn't respond. His gaze drifted unconsciously toward Iwan Gang's side, and at the same instant, the young man there, Kwahng, looked back. Their stares clashed across empty space, invisible sparks crackling in the air, admiration and battle. Lust gleamed in Kwahng's eyes, while Kael's narrowed. Asterisk, so strong. Asterisk, that same thought flared in both their minds. On the platform, Kwahng had already racked up over 10 consecutive wins, and no one else dared to ascend. Elder Wang immediately declared, the third slot, Chi Sha Iwan, Kwahng. One's small face bloomed bright red. She leaped into the air. I won. I can go to the secret realm. Senior sister, I really won. Below, that senior sister's face twisted with jealousy. She spat under her breath, yelling and screaming, have you no shame? One shrank back instantly, her eyes reddening. Sorry, I didn't mean to. The onlookers didn't know whether to laugh or sigh. With such a fragile disposition, every step in the cultivation world would be a bed of thorns. Elder Wang exhaled, relief washing over him. Then the qualification matches for this secret realm are hereby. Hold! A single voice sliced off the end of his sentence, head snapped around. Kwahng strode out, a faint smile on his lips. Still an hour until the secret realm opens. Let's use that time to settle a private matter. He looked at Kael. That day, I thought you were as good as dead.
Hiss!
Gasps rippled through the crowd. Kael lifted a brow. I'm a hard man to kill. Disappointed. No, I'm grateful. Kwahng shook his head. Back then I thought you were a mantis trying to block a chariot, blind to the vastness of heaven and earth. I underestimated that sliver of luck clinging to you. To be blunt, a talent like you dying would have been a real pity. Kael's eyes chilled. Is there something wrong with your brain? Kwahng laughed. Still that untamed arrogance. Just what you'd expect, the greater the genius, the greater the confidence. You're insufferable, Kael bit out, each word a distinct chip of ice. Enough. Kwahng's smile vanished, his tone dropping cold. It's time to settle things between us, right here on this platform. Care to play a little game with me? Without waiting for Kael's reply, he flipped his hand and produced a dimensional pouch, tossing it casually onto the edge of the arena. 100 million origin crystal. Win, and you take it. Lose, and you submit to me. Deathly silence smothered the entire venue. Kael stood still for a moment, then the corner of his mouth slowly curled. And if you lose... A spark flared in Kwahng's eyes. If I lose, same terms. Interesting. Kael stepped forward and strode straight onto the platform. He pulled out no magical artifact. Instead, he drew a battered, pitifully rusted longsword from behind his back. Its blade was speckled with rust, its edge chipped in multiple places. It looked like a piece of scrap hauled from some ruin. But the instant its tip dropped, a thread of faint, bone-chilling sword intent seeped from inside the riven blade. The air above the arena condensed instantly into fine droplets that hung suspended, frozen, as if the very currents of air had been locked solid by that sword intent. Kwahng's pupils contracted. In the next breath, spiritual energy erupted from both bodies simultaneously. A wave of pure white light and a wild blaze of gold, red flame roared together at the center of the arena. Boom! The hard stone slabs covering the platform's surface exploded outward, shards of rock flying in a ring. Dust surged up like a tidal wave. The whole arena groaned, cracks spreading madly from beneath their feet in all directions. As the smoke thinned, Kwahng stood unmoved, merely lifting his eyes to Kael. In the cultivation world, the strong are supreme. Wordplay isn't my strength. His tone shifted. Since we still have some time, how about exchanging a few moves? Exchanging moves. Those two words were like sparks, falling into dry tinder. Every disciple's eyes blazed. One was a genius of Jade Pinnacle Sect, a new member of Azure Cloud Pavilion, who could crush all opponents in a single move, even with his cultivation suppressed. The other was the chief of Kwahng, Wu Iwan, who had crippled an Origin gathering realm 5th tier with a single slap, with a 20 million Origin crystal bounty on his head, and sent ill walking around vibrantly alive. These two trading blows, this was a spectacle. Kwahng, Yana Murong exploded. You want to challenge my brother Kael? Take my hammer first. Nonsense, Murong Iwan's face sank. Today's matches are over. You are not to stir up more trouble. Supreme Elder, Kwahng smiled, but his gaze never left Kael. Rest assured, I'm not provoking anyone. I merely saw a talent and wanted to test his skill, of course. He paused, driving the words down like nails. If he dares not accept the challenge, then the matter ends here. That single sentence cut off every path of retreat for Kael. Fury surged through Murong Iwan's chest. Before he could speak, Iwan Gang's unhurried voice joined in. Supreme Elder, there is no need for anger. Sparring between cultivators is perfectly normal. Besides, junior brother Choo already said he won't harm him. What are you worried about? Iwan, you bastard. Yana Murong erupted. I've had enough of your face for a long time. Come, let's have a go first. No rush. Iwan Gang's tone was flat. We'll have plenty of chances. Kwahng kept his eyes locked on Kael, hurling 3 words like stones, too scared. Every gaze pressed down on that silent figure. In the crowd, Yong Lin and Meng Xing exchanged glances, fight. Best if both suffer heavy injuries. Once inside the secret realm, it'll save us the work, Kael lifted his head, expressionless. Test my skill, fine, but be careful. If you accidentally get beaten to death by me, that would be ugly. The crowd's hearts flared. As expected, this one was no pushover to be squeezed as they pleased. Kwahng showed no anger. If you can beat me to death, that counts as your skill. Murong Iwan frowned at Kael. Boy, you really want this match. Senior, Kael shook his head. He gave me no choice. If I refuse, wouldn't I disgrace Kwahng, Wu Iwan's name? Murong Iwan was speechless. Kwahng, Wu Iwan had a name to disgrace, but Kael's resolve was set, and he did not argue further. To flee this challenge would leave a hole in the heart. Once sharpness was lost, every step of future cultivation would be thorns. Brother Kael, Yana Murong raised her great hammer high. Teach him a lesson. Show him your power. Yonglan twisted the hem of her robe. Brother, can eldest brother Jiang win? Kwahng is. Don't worry. Ivan shook his head. If you had seen how formidable he is, you wouldn't ask. In the distance among the Chi Yuan disciples, Kwahng stared fixedly at Kael, her eyes brimming with infatuation. The senior sister beside her snorted coldly. What are you looking at? He's not even 1% of senior brother Yong. I don't care. Wan's face flushed. In my eyes, he's the best looking. On the arena stage, Kwahng was not surprised by Kael's acceptance. He smiled. You didn't disappoint me. Cut the chatter. Kael's voice was cold. I'm in a hurry. The battle intent in Kwahng's eyes surged. Good. Then let me witness your true ability. Boom, boom. 2 auras erupted simultaneously, climbing without reservation, as if there were no ceiling. The sheer pressure crushed outward. Disciples standing too close to the stage were nearly bent double. Crack! Lightning flared and sparks showered as the 2 figures collided. Spiritual energy clashed, and the stage beneath them split into webs of cracks. Too strong. A Jade Pinnacle Sect disciple's face turned bitter. Are those 2 really newly admitted? I've seen Mystic Spirit Realm's senior brothers fight. Another muttered. They fall short. Someone nearby sneered. When they get serious, you'll see the gap is far worse than a little. The crowd recoiled. Could it be neither had used full strength yet? Boom! Another deafening blast on the stage, and the two separated. Kael stood with his sword held crosswise, frowning, boring. If you keep hiding your strength, you really will die. Is that so? Kwahng laughed. Aren't you the same? Bring out some real skill. Kael's tone was icy. Otherwise, I'm not going to let that 100 million origin crystals of mine sink without a trace. Kwahng sighed. I wanted to fight you at equal realm, but it seems you don't appreciate it. Fine, as you wish. Roar. His cultivation instantly climbed to mystic spirit realm. His aura exploded outward, sweeping across the venue like a gale. Mystic spirit realm. Kael didn't flinch. Still not enough. Kwahng gave an eerie smile. You spoke too soon. Before his words faded, a faint, almost imperceptible glimmer kindled on his body. The light wasn't dazzling, but it carried an ancient and tyrannical aura, as if a war soul slumbering for 10,000 years had opened its eyes. His entire bearing transformed. Before, he was confident, unhurried, everything within his grasp. Now battle intent poured from the crown of his head to the soles of his feet, the very tips of his hair blazing with boundless combat flame. The battle intent flooded outward in all directions. The air above the stage shrieked. Disciples nearest the stage took an involuntary half-step forward, fists clenching, fanatical fires igniting in their eyes. If not for a shred of reason holding them back, they would have leaped onto the stage to join the slaughter. Kwahng's pupils contracted sharply. Barbaric war physique. Battle physique? Kwahng was completely baffled. What does that mean? On the stage, the exchange had reached its limit. Kael leveled his sword, a 3-inch gleam of cold light flickering restlessly at the blade's edge. Killing intent coiled in his heart, strand by strand, locking onto Kwahng's aura. For the first time, Kwahng's expression changed drastically. The composure and arrogance vanished, replaced by an unprecedented solemnity in his eyes. He had truly, vividly perceived the scent of death. Silently, the dazzling light around him deepened to pitch black. A strange, all-consuming aura spread. Onlookers felt their very souls being sucked away and recoiled in terror. Kael's killing intent crested. A thunderous roar burst from his lips. Kill. His figure flashed forward, speed doubling in an instant. The longsword thrust straight at Kwahng. The blade tore through the air with a savage, low sonic boom like a beast's roar. Its afterimage burned like icy lightning. Within 10 zhang of the stage, the temperature plummeted. The naked killing intent thickened. The white breath of onlookers instantly condensed into frost particles. A chill shot from their souls straight to the crowns of their skulls. Kwahng's pupils shrank. Not a sliver of hesitation remained. His hands abruptly formed a strange seal, supreme ferocity. The void behind him twisted, and a dark, churning vortex loomed into being. At the vortex's center lay a point of utter silence, and the surrounding light was greedily sucked in. Debris and gravel on the stage spiraled toward it. Kael's sword tip neared the vortex's edge. Heaven-devouring. Kwahng let out a low shout. The vortex surged violently, sword radiance and devouring force ripping at each other in a mad tug-of-war. Spatial folds spread like translucent ripples. Either one of them could die in this single exchange. And then the air between the two figures froze. Kwahng had stepped through the void without anyone noticing, both hands thrust forward. The vast spiritual energy, surging from his palms, instantly solidified into 2 walls of tangible Kai. Kael's sword tip condensed with killing intent, stabbed into the Kai wall and erupted in blinding sparks, the blade shuddering violently. Kwahng's palm sized Ald. Devouring vortex slammed into the other Kai wall, producing a muffled, thunderous collapse. The vortex edges tore madly, but could not advance a single inch. The recoil sent a visible ring, shaped shockwave outward, forcing the disciples at the arena's perimeter to stumble backward. Boom! Ching Shurlate, I could no longer withstand such an intense clash of auras, and crumbled with a thunderous crash. Dust erupted skyward, swallowing all 3 figures completely. The dust slowly settled like a descending curtain. The 3 silhouettes gradually sharpened from the haze. Kwahng stood in the center, with hands clasped behind his back. Kael's longsword was still thrust forward, its tip a single inch from Kwahng's brow. And Kwahng's palm vortex had not yet fully dissipated, residual energy still greedily sucking in dust with a faint hiss. This match, in Kwahng's voice, was authoritative and deep. Ends here. Dead silence blanketed the arena. Battle intent had not yet faded from Kwahng's eyes, and a regretful curl played at the corner of his mouth. A pity, if not for the Supreme Elder, I would have gained a new follower today. Indeed, Kael nodded, his tone flat. If you, senior, had intervened a little later, his life would have been forfeit. How about? Kwahng's gaze hardened. Another round. Gladly, Kael slowly raised his longsword. I wasn't finished either. Foolishness, Murong Iwan's face darkened, his voice booming like a great bell. Lift a hand again, and you will be stripped of secret realm qualification. I will personally suppress you for 10 years. Kwahng shook his head and slowly turned away. Enjoy a few days of freedom for now. Treasure them. Next time, you won't be so lucky. Next time, Kael laughed, you'd best bring Senior Murong with you. Otherwise, none will be there to save your life. Murong Iwan had a massive headache. Brother Gu, Yana Murong and the others hurried over. Are you all right? I'm fine. Kael waved a hand. Just a little regret. My 100 million origin crystals slipped away. A bit of a loss. Nero's Shanks's mouth twitched, still thinking about origin crystals at a time like this. Boy, Murong Iwan gave a cold snort. Do you know what would have happened today had I not stopped you? I do. Kael thought for a moment. He would have died. I would have been gravely wounded. And how do you know he would have been the one to die? Hey, ancestor, your robe is torn. Yana Murong suddenly cried out. Following her gaze, they saw a gash several inches wide had appeared on Murong Iwan's sleeve, the cut sharp, edged, identical to the blade of Kael's sword. The others held their breath. With Murong Iwan's cultivation at half, step Transcendence Realm, not even top, tier Divine Connection Realm experts could accomplish such a thing, let alone someone in Kai Converging E-Realm. Senior, Kael looked genuinely curious. What were you saying? If what? Murong Iwan's aged face stiffened. HMPH, there is no if. Prepare yourselves. You will enter the secret realm shortly. Not far away, Kwahng's face had regained its composure. He dies, I'm wounded. If Supreme Elder hadn't stepped in, that would have been the final outcome. Junior brother, Iwan Gang's gaze was shadowed. It seems we both underestimated this person. Indeed, Kwahng nodded. He is too extraordinary, extremely difficult to subdue. Then, no matter. If I truly cannot subdue him, I will simply destroy him. That is the only way. A cold glint flashed in Iwan Gang's eyes. He turned and ordered the disciples behind him. Go, summon Ivan back here. As a member of Azure Cloud Pavilion, spending all his days mingling with that lot, what an utter disgrace. Kael, Yana Murong, and Nero Shanks stood shoulder to shoulder, not even remotely regarding the two factions' threats as worthy of concern. They didn't intend to let us off, and we had no desire to let them off either. Their idle talk was brief. Murong Iwan's voice rang out once more. The time has come, follow me. The group shot into the air. Those left behind exchanged helpless glances, left only with a sigh of lament. Chase them with what? The secret realm entrance was just over 100, live from Jade Pinnacle, sect. The Jade slip used to open the secret realm rotated among the various powers, and this cycle it happened to be in Jade Pinnacle sect's possession. Kael fell into step beside Nero's Shanks. Why do we have to suppress our cultivation to the mystic spirit realm to enter the secret realm? He asked. Nero's Shanks walked on, explaining as he went. Mystic spirit realm is the final stage of the foundation. There you must nurture a thread of sentience within the spiritual energy of your spirit pool, the first tier of spirit mystic. Once all your spiritual energy has awakened, you can bridge into the divine passage realm, where sentience nourishes the soul and condenses divine sense. He paused, noticing Kael lost in thought, then continued. The secret realm's treasured elixir exists solely to accelerate that awakening. It benefits mystic spirit cultivators the most, but the elixir is scarce, and the competition for it is brutal. That's why the powers restrict entry to mystic spirit realm only. Hence the saying, one venture into the secret realm equals years of bitter cultivation outside. Kael's face crumpled with regret. What a pity, my cultivation is still too weak. It doesn't matter, Nero's Shanks said with a laugh. You'll still reap enormous benefits. Besides, the secret realm won't open just this once. Brother Shen, you misunderstand. Kael cut him off, utterly serious. I heard this secret realm is 100 times larger than Yongjaya's than usual. With my current cultivation, I can't break it open. Too unfortunate. The logic was simple. The larger the secret realm, the more stable its spatial barriers, and the higher the cultivation needed to shatter them. Nero's Shanks stared, dumbfounded. He had accounted for everything except that Kael would be thinking along those lines. This wasn't boldness. It was outright lawlessness. Yana Murong drifted over to comfort him. Brother Gu, don't worry. There'll be other chances. Once your cultivation is high enough, you'll turn this place into your own backyard eventually. Nearby, Murong Iwan shot them a glance. His headache returned at once. Two lawless spirits colliding. There would be no peace from now on. Elsewhere, Iwan Gang called Ivan back. Junior brother Ivan, as a member of Azure Cloud Pavilion, you should stop fooling around with those people. Otherwise, don't blame me for enforcing the rules. Ivan hesitated a moment, then answered quietly, yes. Kwahng studied Ivan with open curiosity. May I ask, senior brother Ivan, what kind of physique do you possess? An ordinary physique. Have you cultivated to the extreme realm? No. Any special, fortuitous encounters? Also none. Kwahng smiled. Then I'm curious, how did senior brother enter Azure Cloud Pavilion in the first place? It was a fair question. Among the rest of the pavilion, one had a fire spirit body, another an earth spirit body, and the last had once eaten a strange fruit that doubled his meridians. Their strength could not be underestimated. Expressionless, Ivan replied. Senior brother Luo Wushwang agreed to it. Does junior brother have any more questions? Senior brother Wushwang, a flicker of surprise crossed Kwahng's eyes before he smiled again. So that's how it is. I was just asking casually. Senior brother, don't take it to heart. Silence! Murong Iwan's gaze swept over them. The rules are already clear to you all. But this old man must remind you once more. Aside from that single stroke of fortune, nothing else within the secret realm is to be touched, much less consumed. Otherwise, you will bear the consequences yourselves. As his words fell, he flipped his hand. A palm-sized ancient jade slip appeared in his palm. His cultivation surged, and space churned. A gateway 10 feet high tore open from nothing, its edges twisting with light and shadow like an inverted waterfall. The moment one stepped through, a brief buzzing filled the ears before infinite spatial force swallowed everything. Iwan Gang led the Azure Cloud Pavilion members inside. Yongjaya, Mungjaya, and Chish Iwan followed close behind. Miss, shouldn't we go together? Murong Chang approached cautiously. You go first. Yana Murong waved a hand. I still have words with the old ancestor. Yes, yes. In the blink of an eye, only Kael and 2 others remained outside the entrance. Murong Iwan's brow furrowed deeply. He warned them sternly, You 3, why are you still dawdling? Stop harboring devious thoughts. This secret realm is not something you can meddle with. Nero Shanks looked completely innocent, thinking, what does this have to do with me? Yana Murong rolled her eyes. Old ancestor Yongjaya's secret realm seems to have a problem. The 3 had deliberately stayed behind to avoid the Yong and Meng families and inform him privately. Listening to Yana Murong's brief account, Murong Iwan's expression shifted. Shock and anger blended before dissolving into a thread of deep weariness. I understand. You go in first. His voice was hoarse. I will handle this matter myself. Seeing this, the 3 asked no more. They turned and stepped into the slowly closing gateway. Watching the last sliver of light vanish, Murong Iwan sighed deeply. First Jiangning, now Yongtong. The northern frontier is going to descend into complete chaos. Kael could not hear that sigh. As he took one step out, the world spun violently. Crimson surged from all directions like a tide, swallowing his vision whole. The earth was red, the sky was red, and every leaf on every plant was saturated with the color of blood. A sickly, sweet scent assaulted his nostrils. The air felt thick with invisible syrup. With every step, his skin met a tangible, viscous pressure, and his heartbeat drummed harder in his chest. This was a world drenched in bloody light. Beneath Wanggong, in the great Kai imperial city, at the bottom of that strange green stone, a narrow, cramped passage twisted downward. Sinister and eerie, it seemed to lead straight to the 9 nethers. At the passage's end, a slightly plump figure sat cross-legged, Nero's junks. Opposite him, 100 Jiang wide restriction rotated slowly. Countless fine talisman scripts flickered and cycled, scraping against each other with a rustling sound like thin metal on glass. Behind the restriction, crimson mist churned and writhed as if alive, crashing repeatedly against that light screen. With each impact, liquid specks of light seeped out, sliding along the restriction's edge in twisting trails, like weeping tears of blood. Suddenly, the ancient restriction fluctuated violently for an instant. The red mist struggle grew fiercer. But in half a breath, the restriction calmed, sealing the mist tightly within. 100 Zhang away, Nero's junks opened his eyes. It is time. Sensing something, he smiled faintly. His low voice echoed through the underground cave, making the dim shape of the god, slaying formation loom like a mountain, huge and oppressive. 1,000 years ago, an earth-shattering battle took place beyond the heavens, filling countless experts across the continent with terror. Afterward, several chunks of a corpse fell. One landed right here, in the northern territory of the eastern wastes. Nero's junks' tone was calm, but each word cut clear. Alas, even a single chunk of that corpse held power far beyond anyone's imagination. The founder of the Jade Pinnacle sect had already stepped into the transcendent realm, but he couldn't even put up token resistance. He was gravely wounded and soon died. Just as everyone despaired, a forbidden art suddenly spread from the restricted area, sealing the corpse. Thus, this god, slaying formation. Thanks to it, the Northern Territory was spared a calamity. This formation is wondrous and unfathomable. None can see through it. Even more, it can extract a strand of the purest spirituality from that corpse, a heaven-sent opportunity for countless later disciples. Marvelous, truly marvelous. At that, Nero's junks turned. A gleam flashed in his eyes. Brother Y, tell me, since this forbidden art bears the name God, slaying, could it be that what's sealed here is truly a god's corpse? Nero's junks, a voice full of coldness cut through the darkness. If you can't rid yourself of that stinking habit, believe me, I'll leave right now. No, don't. Nero's junks' face creased into a grin, and he waved his hands hastily. I won't mention it, not a single word more. Heh, Brother Y, I really wasn't wrong about you, a man of your word. HMPH. Kwahng landed beside him with a cold snort. Nero's junks glanced sideways and noticed his grim expression. Brother Y, you seem not in a good mood. Kwahng shot him a look but said nothing. Not in a good mood? Who would be, after being played for no reason? Brother Y, seeing him silent, Nero's junks didn't press further. He plastered on a fawning smile. Then shall we not delay any longer? Nero's junks, Kwahng drew a deep breath. You must swear not to reveal a single hint about me. You know my origins. If anyone finds out I did this, I will die a miserable death. Rest assured, Nero's junks rubbed his palms together. I've been brewing this plan for years. It's flawless. Once it's done, I will never appear before you again. You can remain that free and unrestrained proprietor of Rui Pavilion. A genius of the past, Kwahng's face dripped with scorn, sunk so low you'll stoop to any dirty trick. Heh, Nero's junks let the insult slide. You said it yourself, past. The glory years are gone, and I, seeing Kwahng's mounting impatience, he choked back the rest. Brother Y, his expression hardened. Right now, I just want to live. Unscrupulous, ruthless. I'll give everything for survival. Kwahng stayed silent a long moment. Then, voice low, fine, after this, we're square. Good. Nero's junks lit up. Brother Y, please. With his choice made, Kwahng stopped wavering. He flipped his palm. A 3-inch bone, white as jade and near translucent, lay there. Demon Saint's relic bone. Nero's junks' eyes blazed. Brother Y, your collection of treasures never fails. Swish, Kwahng ignored him, a flicker of pain crossing his face. He flung the finger bone at the barrier. The instant it struck, radiant white light erupted and clashed with the crimson mist, sizzling as it ate away inch by inch. The air screamed, a grating shriek that clawed at the ears. The whole barrier shuddered. The bone burned away at a terrifying pace, shrinking fast. Breath after breath passed until the barrier's fluctuations hit their limit. I too, foot breach tore open. Now, Kwahng barked. One breath, Nero's junks was already a streak of light shooting through. Phew, Kwahng snatched back the whispering jade bone. The barrier slammed shut, forcing back the roiling mist. He stared at the bone in his palm, now only a fingernail sliver. His chest ached with every heartbeat. A demon, Saint's relic bone, almost impossible to find. Another piece. In this life, he might never get the chance. Inside the secret realm, Nero's junks caught Kael's odd expression and sighed. Brother Gu, you'll adapt. First time my junior sister and I got here, I was just as stunned. Senior brother, Yona Murong laughed, mocking. You have the gall to say that. If I hadn't slapped you back then, you'd still be standing there with your mouth open. His old embarrassment flared red across his face. Kael had no time to tease him. His gaze swept the area, snagging on a blood, red herb nearby, 7-star grass. Common, not valuable, he recognized it, then his eyes caught more. Sky azure flower, dragon pattern fruit, first-grade mystic ganodom, so many spirit herbs. Every few yards, another popped up, most ordinary but some upper tier, far from worthless. Yet everyone wore that same eerie blood, red hue. No familiar medicinal aura, just fierce, baleful edges. Crimson earth stretched out of sight. The cloying, bloody scent of baleful energy filled his nostrils, heavy on his chest. Almost on instinct, Kael snatched the 7-star grass. Brother Gu, Nero's shanks flinched. What are you? What are you doing? Brother Shen, Kael licked his lips. My 100 venom immunity physique versus this stuff. Which one breaks first? Damn it, Nero's shanks groaned inside. He knew this would happen. Don't be stupid. I told you, everything here is twisted beyond reason. Don't even touch it. Exactly. Yona Murong's face was stone. Brother Gu, eating that will actually kill you. Really? Kael hesitated for a long moment, and that indecision tortured them until he finally crushed the impulse and didn't bite. Too bad. The two were speechless. Brother Goo has poverty made him insane. Let's move. Nero's shanks rushed to shift Kael's focus. We've still got a treasured elixir to fight over. Fight. Kael blinked. How? With fists. Yona Murong bounced. Old rule. First round we brawl. Once someone's bleeding, we stop and negotiate shares. If we still don't agree, we brawl again, talk again until it's settled. Crude. Kael said, but it works. Exactly. Yona Murong hefted her hammer. With me and Brother Goo fighting side by side, we'll grab the biggest share this time for sure. Junior sister. Nero's shanks looked uncomfortable. I'm here too. You, she considered. Senior brother, just don't drag us down, okay? Nero's shanks. They walked and talked. Abruptly, Kael's brows nodded. He stopped. What is it? Nero's shanks asked. Ahead, Kael's eyes narrowed. Someone's waiting. Who? People who want to kill me. They're here. No sooner had he spoken than Yonglin and Meng Xing stepped into view, side by side. Behind them, more than 20 disciples from 3 clans pressed forward. Of course, Yana Murong angled her hammer, their usual play. Worse, Nero Shanks's face darkened. Chi Yuan's people, too, numbers. A cold flash crossed Kael's eyes. Won't save them. His stare never left Yonglin and Meng Xing. Only those two held any real threat more dangerous even than Kwahng had felt. In a few breaths, Yonglin and Meng Xing closed in on the 3. Didn't expect this. Meng Xing's gaze drilled into Kael, silver light surging. You actually dared to enter this secret realm, Kael said, a faint smile, doesn't belong to your Meng Jaya. The words ripped up some foul memory. The silver in Meng Xing's glare burned 3 shades hotter, don't forget. His voice dripped killing intent. I said I'd take your life. That line. Kael's smile slowly faded. Many have said to me, pity it was always them who died. Meng Xing, Yana Murong's eyes blazed. Touch one hair on Brother Goo, and I'll flatten you with this hammer. Yana Murong. Yonglin's face was blank. No rush. Today, none of you leave here. You. Nero's shanks caught the weight behind it. What are you saying? Simple. Green Kai churned around Yonglin's body, his stare turning icy. All of you die. Shua, Shua. At his signal, the 3 clans' disciples fanned out, encircling them. Among the crowd, a female cultivator from Chi Yuan shot a sidelong look at GSH. Wan, remember, when we attack, don't be scared, just charge. Kill any of those 3, and senior brother will reward you richly. Several couldn't help stealing glances at the female cultivator. Kael and his companion's strength was plain as daylight, sending a Kai Convergence realm girl to rush them. No different from throwing her away, the malice was naked. But GSH, Wan seemed blind to the trap, her voice unsure. I like Kael so much I don't want to hurt him. Idiot. The female cultivator's eyes chilled. Kael is ruthless and brutal. He's no good. So you... Shua, before she finished, a figure flickered in front of her. Kael, sword. Light condensed on the blade, icy killing intent locking down in an instant. The female cultivator's body seized. Her last words were sliced off in her throat. Blood mist caught the hard lines of Kael's face. The air itself frozen still by that single stroke. Who's no good? Kael's brow creased. Female cultivator's body went cold, throat clamped by some invisible force. She had seen Kael clash head. On with Kwahng, at spirit profound second stage, she had no right to stand before him. Senior brother save. She strained to turn her head, eyes searching for Yonglin. Insolent. Yonglin and his companion's faces sank. This little bastard's arrogance was truly damnable. The sword flashed past, the cry for help cut off. Terror still clung to the female cultivator's eyes as her head flew up. Blood sprayed, soaking GSH Wan, whose pretty face turned white as ash. How could you, with a timid heart like that, don't come to places like this? Kael glanced at her. GSH Wan nodded numbly. Okay. The surrounding crowd shrank back together, the airtight ring loosening. Kael swung his long sword, pointing it straight at Yonglin and Meng Xing. Brother Nero's shanks, you see. Sometimes numbers are a liability. On a distant hillside, Iwan Gang and Kwahng stood with hands clasped behind their backs, a dozen or so figures watching the standoff in silence. Just as expected, Iwan Gang murmured. With those temperaments, they'd absolutely pull something like this. Someone behind him hesitated. Senior brother, why not use their standoff to search for the treasured elixir first? No rush. Iwan Gang waved a hand. Refining the treasured elixir isn't quick. Let's enjoy the show. Ivan stood off to the side, expressionless, but the worry in his eyes was hard to veil. Iwan Gang's gaze drifted over. Junior brother Ivan, you seem quite concerned about them. He helped me once, I owe him. So, I want to help him. Iwengang's expression went cold. Azure Cloud Pavilion values the rules above all. Defy my authority here, and you won't be coming back. Ivan said nothing. He knew exactly what that meant: expulsion from the sect. Senior brother Yuan, calm yourself. Choo Kwahng's smile was faint, almost lazy. Senior brother Ivan's sense of loyalty is rare, but if you intervene directly, it wrecks our entire strategy. Iwengang's face eased, though his voice stayed sharp. That wild fool won't learn a thing until he's tasted real suffering. Let him choke on it, and maybe he'll finally grasp how high the heavens are. Choo Kwahng looked at Ivan, his eyes gleaming. How close are you with him? Friendly enough. Then go persuade him to join us. If we can tame him, it would give Azure Cloud Pavilion wings. Ivan stayed silent for a long breath, then slowly shook his head. Getting him to bend is harder than killing him. Oh, Choo Kwahng's smile deepened. Then I'm curious to see what he picks, a clean death or a broken knee. He started forward, heading straight toward the battlefield. Iwengang gestured. Let's move. We'll watch the show together. On the battlefield, a bitter smile crossed Nero Shanks's face. A burden, huh? Only someone whose killing power made group attacks meaningless would say such a thing. Meng Xing fixed his glare on Kael, silver light erupting from his body. His voice was hammered steel. Today you die with no grave to fill. Shut your mouth. Yana Murong swung her great hammer. I'll pound that scrap, metal skull of yours to dust. Young Miss Murong, a shout cut through the distance. Murong Chang and 7 or 8 Murong fighters came tearing across the ground like wind. Yana Murong's face twisted with pure irritation. Murong Chang shrank back. The ancestor gave the order. The Meng and Yong families won't let this go, so we're here to guard Brother Gu. Something warm stirred in Kael's chest. Murong Iwan had been watching out for him the entire time. Yana Murong curled her lip. Waste of effort. Across from them, green Kai surged from Yong Lin's body. Perfect. Saves me the trouble of hunting you down one by one. I'll sweep you all out together. Before the words even finished. Boom, Yana Murong's first step blew deep craters into the ground. She tore forward, great hammer carving a screaming gale, and charged straight at Meng Xing. Yana Murong. Meng Xing's roar split the air. Silver light blazed at its peak as his cultivation thundered up to spirit, profound 9th layer. You've blocked me over and over today. Your life is mine. Clang, the hammer raked across the silver radiance with a shriek that clawed at the ears. Meng Xing was hurled backward, twisted in the air, and lunged again as if nothing had touched him. Both fists gathered blinding silver light and crashed forward with savage fury. Boom, 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 they fought with the same brutal style head. On, nothing held back. Every impact fractured the ground. Shockwaves ripped through gravel. The crash of metal on metal rolled out like thunder, shivering the air for dozens of zhang, evenly matched. For these stretched seconds, neither could tip the scale. Brother Nero's Shanks, the rest falls to you. Kael lifted his longsword. Nero's Shanks hesitated, but you, Yang Lin, was no small threat. Relax, sword tip gathering light. Kael's voice stayed level. He alone can't kill me. Nero's Shanks asked no more. His form dissolved, a slip of wind, threading into the chaos without a sound. He materialized in front of a young disciple and pressed out with one large palm. Bang! Spirit profound 8th layer cultivation poured out with nothing held back. The man flew backward before he could even flinch, blood arcing through the air. Flash, Nero's Shanks reappeared before another fighter. A palm brushed out. Blood bloomed like plum blossoms, silent and slow across their robes. His movements were ghost-like. With every flicker, someone crumpled. The 3 family disciples couldn't even trace his path. Pin him down. Together, kill him. The 3 families snapped awake and swarmed in chaos. Secure, Aunt Nero's Shanks, eldest brother Jiang. Murong Chang flung out an arm, and the Murong fighters surged. Every one of them burning with reckless courage, they smashed into the enemy formation and tore it apart. Kael's eyes were already fixed on Yang Lin. His blade edge hummed faintly, sword Kai coiling silent, the killing intent compressed into a single strike. Green Kai surged along Yang Lin's arms, too dark. Green short spears shot forth, strange patterns twisting along their shafts, sealing Kael's approach from both flanks. The sword light moved, faster than the slash that had killed the female cultivator. Colder, a white streak ripped a fissure through the air, aimed straight for Yang Lin's throat. Clang, the twin spears crossed just in time, the sword of slaying bit deep. Sparks exploded between them like silver flowers branching from iron, searing and brief. The shafts shuddered violently, a deep sword mark gouged across the dark green like a ravine. Impact ricocheted through their arms. Both fighters recoiled hard. The moment Kael's feet steadied, he lifted his gaze. In the distance, Kwahng was leading Gang and the rest toward the battlefield. A meaningful smile stretched across his face. Wan stood frozen, her face drained of color. She'd clearly never witnessed slaughter like this. Her body trembled beyond control, not a shred of fighting courage left in her. At this moment, though, everyone else was too busy surviving to notice. As if seeing none of it, Yonglin kept his stare locked on Kael. Yongfei, he said slowly, "You're the one who hurt him." "That's right." Kael nodded. "That little beast had no manners. I was teaching him a lesson for your Yong family." "One more thing." The green Kai around Yonglin darkened. "You seem pretty close to that bastard." "Bastard?" Kael paused for a beat. He raised his longsword. The killing intent in his chest climbed steady and cold. "Then you deserve death too." A swift sound, his figure blurred. When it sharpened again, he was already in front of Yonglin. Kill. Sword light flickered, and the tidal weight of killing intent locked on tight. Yonglin's pupils shrank. Spirit profound ninth layer. Innate azure wood spirit body. Against this strike, he still felt a strange certainty press into him, that he could not block it, but he was no common cultivator. At the vital instant, the green Kai across his body shifted to dark green. His hands flipped, and the twin three foot spears materialized, crossed before him. Clang, light and soft, his figure shot backward instantly. He killed his retreat and glanced at the fresh sword mark scarred across his spears. His eyes narrowed. "You do have some skill. These twin spears weren't forged from any metal." Yongtong had spent a fortune hunting down 1,000-year mystic ironwood, then refined them from the hardest heartwood. Top-grade profound artifacts. A perfect match for his azure wood spirit body. They'd never taken so much as a scratch over the years. He hadn't expected today's sword to bite so deep. "You're dead." He stared at the riven blade, a thread of greed lighting his eyes. "That sword will be mine." As he spoke, the dark, green energies coiling around him seemed to wake, twisting and writhing, swallowing a full zhang around his body in an instant. "You want it." Kael's killing intent surged again. "Then trade your life for it." All things weighed, Yonglin was the first cultivator of his generation to block the sword of slaying without taking damage. Far stronger than Nero, Ya had ever been. Kael held nothing back. His figure flickered, and the techniques poured forth in full. Boom, Yonglin dared not underestimate him either. Twin spears swung dark, green energies spiraling up their shafts as he thrust straight toward Kael's vitals. Then both halted at the same moment. They'd felt something. Not just them, Yana Murong and Meng Xing, Nero's shanks and the blood, soaked fighters of all four families, deep in the frenzy, all froze. The killing had nearly driven everyone berserk, but now the combat stopped. A dozen figures, led by Gang and Kwahng, arrived before the crowd. Gang, Meng Xing's heart dropped. "You here to interfere?" He understood the logic. Gang and Yana Murong were sect mates. It made sense. And with Liu Wushwang in the mix, people from Azure Cloud Pavilion could be killed, but none of them dared touch Gang. "Brother Meng Xing," Gang said flatly, "I'm just here to watch, won't intervene, do what you need to do." Gang, Yana Murong boiled over. "Spare us the snake, tongue courtesy, what do you actually want?" No one believed him. "You see that?" Gang ignored her entirely, his stare fixed on Kael. "Your arrogance, your recklessness. Calamity follows everything you touch. Let this be a lesson." "What?" Kael's voice was ice. "You're teaching me how to behave now." "No," Gang shook his head. "I just want you to know your limits and show some restraint." Kael let out a short, angry laugh. "So according to you, I should just let them walk all over me. If they want me dead, I ought to kneel and beg for my life. And if they refuse, I should stick my neck out for a clean chop. Tell me, does that not sound monumentally stupid to you?" Gang's eyes chilled to ice. "Insolence. Outrageous. Who gave you the goal to address senior brother, Yuan, like that?" The pack behind him bristled with menace, murder glinting in their stares. "Bah," Yana Murong spat, her face twisted with scorn. "You're nothing but Liu Wushwang's lapdog. Quit acting like you're somebody." "You quiet." Kwahng's expression darkened as he barked the word, and the voices behind him died at once. He turned his gaze back to Kael. "I've said it before, you carry a certain luck. Losing a prodigy like you would be a shame. You must see this lethal setup today. They engineered it well in advance. Do you honestly think you can slip out of it?" "So what?" Kael shot back. "Yield to me." Kwahng's tone dripped arrogance. "Live by my rules, and I'll shield you. I'll hand you chances others can only dream of. Whatever trouble stands before you now, I'll wipe it clean." He fixed his stare on Kael, confidence radiating from every word. "Well, think hard. This is the final offer you get." At that, every gaze swung toward Kael. The three hostile families, Yana Murong's group, Meng Xing, and Yang Lin's expressions grew stormy. If Kael accepted, the two of them could never fend off so many combined enemies. They might have to resort to that asterisk. You know, Kael met Kwahng's eyes dead on. That way you talk is profoundly irritating, and submit to you. His look said the man was an idiot. You've beaten me. Kwahng went silent. Not a hint of compromise colored Kael's voice. Forget it. After a beat, he sighed. Senior brother Ewan, let's leave. He has talent, but as you pointed out, his arrogance borders on recklessness. I never should have wasted hope on him. No matter. Ewan Gang waved a dismissive hand. The world always overflows with geniuses. Out of 100, not one survives to the end. Besides, he flicked a glance at Kael. This one's too wild. Bringing him in would only brew instability. The trouble outweighs any gain. Ewan Gang, Yana Murong's glare could have melted steel. If it weren't for those two bastards today, I'd club you into a pulp. Heh, Ewan Gang didn't spare her a look. Survive first, then run your mouth, move out. The group began to retreat. Meng Xing and Yang Lin exhaled quiet relief. The outcome couldn't have been better. Suddenly Ewan Gang's brows furrowed. Junior brother Ivan, are you deaf? I gave an order, but Ivan hadn't budged. He stood rooted in place, silent, his eyes churning with inner conflict. Brother Ivan, Kael sighed, just go. You of all people know what I'm capable of. Stay out of this. Yana Murong kept an unusual silence. If Ivan stepped forward now, it would be flat. Out-betrayal of the Yong clan, and the fallout would be ugly. Junior brother Ivan, Ewan Gang's voice turned arctic. Come with. Hold it. Yang Lin's sudden interjection sliced through the order. Ivan, it's been a while. Your nerve has certainly swelled. You see me standing here, and you've forgotten how to salute. Young lord, the words scraped past clenched teeth. Heh, Yang Lin smiled, and the curve of his mouth bent into something venomous. So you remember your place after all. Looks like you're on close terms with him, eh? Ivan said nothing. The muscles in his jaw twitched. His fists clamped so hard at his sides that his knuckles blanched. Before his eyes, Yang Lin's deliberate, unhurried face and Kael's distant silhouette flickered back and forth, pulling between shadow and light, blurring into another face hazy, Waram. In that case, Yang Lin glanced at Kael, his smile now a slow, cruel needle, sliding toward the heart. As the young lord of the Yong clan, I command you to join me and kill him. Ivan's body reeled as if struck. The image of his mother shattered. What? Yana Murong erupted. You shameless bastard, I'll pound you dead. You, Kael's killing intent flared white. Hot, damn you. Brother Yang Lin, Ewan Gang said, displeasure hardening his face. He's a member of my Azure Cloud Pavilion. Yang Lin saw Ivan still frozen and sneered. What, does the young lord's order carry no weight anymore? Ivan's throat constricted. His voice came out rough and sawing. I can't raise my hand against him. He showed me kindness. Kindness, sudden comprehension lit Yang Lin's eyes, and his laugh turned icier. Even better. Here's a promise, join me now, and afterward I'll release your mother from the Yong clan. On my honor as young lord, no clan member will trouble you ever again. One strike of your hand, and you profit beyond measure. Each word landed like a knife. Rage burned in the eyes of Nero's Shanks and Yana Murong. Kael watched Ivan in silence. All color bled from Ivan's face. His voice came out brittle and unsteady. Those words, you swear them. I, Yang Lin, keep my word. Ivan, Yana Murong's eyes went wide. Have you lost your mind? Brother Kael has always treated you squarely. Are you really throwing that away? Nero's Shanks's heart sank. Junior brother Yang, think carefully. Ivan didn't answer, but his aura erupted skyward. His robes billowed in a wind that wasn't there. Infuriated, Yana Murong hefted her great hammer. You dare, I'll smash you to paste, you traitor. But just as her feet shifted boom, Ivan's aura peaked. He whispered, low and broken, forgive me. Before the sound faded, a spear over 10 feet long solidified in his hand. His form blurred to an afterimage, barreling into the fray with unstoppable force. Yana Murong swore viciously and chased after him like a storm. The disciples of the three families watched with venomous delight. Kael moved the same instant Ivan rushed him. The killing intent around him did not subside. It exploded outward like a boiling tide. He surged straight for Yang Lin, leaving his back wide open to Ivan's spear. Brother Kael, Yana Murong's vision nearly shattered. Get clear. What are you doing? Tears sprang to her eyes, then she saw it. Ivan didn't slow. He sped up. The spear tore through the air 10 yards from Kael's back, 6-3. The instant the spear point was a hair from his robes. The shaft whipped sideways, the wind from its arc, a razor against skin. Ivan's figure streaked past Kael, surging forward at his flank. The spear's arc wrenched violently, a crashing wave of air slashing straight at Yong Lin's face. Yong Lin's pupils contracted. The sneer froze on his face and shattered into disbelief. He threw up his twin spears in a desperate block, but a dull thunderclap shook the air. The great spear smashed down like a roaring bolt, hurling him backward more than 10 yards. Stone tiles burst beneath his skidding feet. Even, you mongrel, a Yong Lin's shriek died as killing, intent dense as solid steel, locked onto him. Kael's sword had arrived. Sword of slaying, greater killing intent, greater killing power. That heartbeat of silent understanding had almost doubled the killing intent in Kael's chest. This blow was even more terrible than the last. Before the blade reached him, the razor, sharp sword intent, stabbed through Yong Lin's brow with a biting chill.
Thunk!
A wet, muffled sound, the blade sank into his heart meridian. Prime Arrival's sword Kai detonated in the next heartbeat, countless fine edges whirling through flesh and blood with a sick hiss. A scarlet mist burst free, a vivid bloom under the sun. Yong Lin's face turned ashen. He reeled backward, leaving crimson footprints with every step, his aura shriveling fast. Enjoy the surprise. Kael's face showed nothing. Before the words finished, a dark, green energy writhed at Yong Lin's wound as torn flesh began knitting at a manic pace. Careful, Ivan warned, his stance guarded. Azure Wood spirit body. He won't die so easily. Then we'll add a few more strikes. Kael's form flickered. Over a dozen arcs of Prime Arrival, Sword Kai slashed down from above. A rapid drumroll of muffled impacts, his newly healed wound ripped open again, blood spattering the ground. If you've got time to waste words, Kael's gaze was ice as he looked down at him. Start composing your last ones. His longsword rose again, a bitter killing, intent plunging downward.
Clang!
A deafening ring of metal, and a figure abruptly stood before Yong Lin.
Meng Sheng!
His sword pressed down, the silver glow around him shuddering violently before steadying. Almost at the same instant, Yana Murong barreled close, her great hammer swung with unbound fury, crashing down. Meng Xing glanced at Yong Lin, still standing. Rest assured, Yong Lin ground out through clenched teeth. Today, they all meet their end here.
Boom, boom.
Yana Murong planted herself before Kael and Ivan. Ivan, she had the decency to look sheepish. Never pegged you for that kind of loyalty. Before I was way out of line. Brother Ivan, Kael sighed. You. If my mother knew, Ivan said, abruptly speaking, that we freed her this way, she'd never forgive me. Not in this life. My sister either. Yana Murong blinked, sudden realization flooding in so that apology just now, it hadn't been meant for Kael after all. Ewan Gang's face was iron gray. Junior brother Yong, fine, you absolutely fine. Senior brother Yong, Choo Kwahng's tone had gone cold as well. We sent you to act, not to help him. I know. Ivan sounded fully resolved, every trace of hesitation gone. This is my own decision. Ewan Gang trembled with rage. Get back here.
No.
Ewan Gang couldn't trust his ears. What did you say? Since joining Azure Cloud Pavilion, Ivan had never once defied a direct command, until now. I said, Ivan repeated, I'm helping him. Brother Ivan, Kael sighed, you don't have to do this. Actually, I. It's fine. Ivan fell quiet for a beat. There's no way back for me now. Kael said nothing more. He understood. The price of Ivan's choice was the last thread of protection for his mother and sister. Their only lifeline. Good. Ewan Gang's face contorted with fury. Since you dare flout Azure Cloud Pavilion's rules, don't blame me for showing no mercy. From this moment on, you are no longer a disciple of Azure Cloud Pavilion. Expelled, their final shield shattered into nothing. Behind Ewan Gang, faces remained empty. Not a single plea rose for him. Ivan nodded faintly. Understood. Ewan Gang surged forward, murder flaring. Senior brother Ewan, Choo Kwahng blocked him. He chose this path. He's no longer one of us. Not worth the anger. Ewan Gang forced his killing intent back down. Around them, every face save those of the Murong family twisted with scorn. For the sake of a so-called debt of gratitude, you abandon life and choose death.
Foolish.
No, calling it foolish is an insult to fools.
Ivan.
A roar of barely contained hatred split the air. Yong Lin. The emerald green energy had mended most of his internal wounds, but his face only darkened, hatred curdling his features into something barely human. Do you even know the consequences? You don't need to tell me. Ivan said, perfectly calm, I already know. Fine, fine, Yong Lin laughed, a thunder of deranged fury. Then today, in Yongjia's name, I purge the traitor, and when I return, I'll show that wretch no mercy either. Brother Yang, Meng Xing's expression shifted, guessing his intent. Using that now, it's too early. It doesn't matter. Yonglin ground his teeth together. Sooner or later, I can't wait any longer to send them to death. He flipped his palm. A thumb-sized orb appeared, blood red, a crimson mist writhing inside like a living thing. Its vivid color was sickening. That's Nero's Shanks's pupils constricted. He flashed to the other three's side. That's. He could sense something within the orb wildly similar to those spiritual herbs, but purer, more ravenous. Not far off, Choo Kwahng's expression turned grim. He actually has that thing. Junior apprentice brother, Iwan Gang asked, confused, you recognize it? Choo Kwahng didn't answer. His gaze grew shadowed. These people are dead. No one can save them now. A cold laugh escaped him. Yongjia, such audacity. To bring out even a forbidden object like this. My interest in them only grows. At that very moment, dozens of miles away, at the secret realm's dead center, the air rippled. A rotund, disheveled figure tumbled out and hit the ground hard. Nero's junks. Too close, he shuddered, gasping. Almost didn't make it. I'm getting too old for this. He rose and in a blinking flash landed beside a small pool, barely 3 feet across. Its walls were laced with blood-colored veins, and within it, half a foot of clear spirit. Dense liquid shifted slowly, a stark jewel of light in the blood-hued realm. Nero's junks drew a deep breath, and his decaying body seemed to catch a few more sparks of life. Treasured elixir, his face twisted with infatuation. No divine quintessence suits it better. To let a pack of brats waste such a sacred thing, truly a crime against heaven. He muttered dreamily, completely unaware. Behind him, the already crimson ground had darkened a shade deeper, threads of vivid red mist drifting from nowhere, spread outward in all directions. Back at the border, Iwan Gang pressed, Junior apprentice brother. Why do you say that? Choo Kwahng shook his head. Senior brother, you can see it yourself. This man uses the duel, pole realm, and that bizarre sword technique. Though he's only at the 8th layer of essence gathering, an ordinary 4th or 5th layer spirit connection cultivator can't match him. That's how he stalemated Yonglin. With senior brother Yong's help, they truly had a sliver of possibility today. He sighed, a pity. A mortal is still a mortal. How could they stand beside a god? A god? Iwan Gang's expression wavered. What is a god? Choo Kwahng said nothing more. The old confidence in his eyes had drained away, replaced by a wary, inexplicable tension. Not far away, the sight of the blood pearl in Yonglin's hand stirred a deep, unsettled familiarity in Kael. As if he'd seen it before, every instinct shrieked a warning. This thing was death. Be careful, he barked. There's something deeply wrong with that thing. In a moment, you. Boom! Before he could finish, Yonglin erupted, charging straight at Kael. No one escapes today. A tidal wave of killing intent crashed over them. Kael's body reacted before his mind. He snapped backward. Trying to run, Meng Xing sneered. Too late. Silver light flared, and his body flickered into Kael's retreat path. Then from the side, an amethyst gold colossus maul howled down with brutal force. Bang! The thunderclap sent Meng Xing flying sideways, blood spraying from his mouth before he hit the ground. Even with a body forged from immortal gold by mistake, taking Yana Murong's maul head on was devastating. Yonglin, Yana Murong swung the giant hammer again. This old lady will pound you to paste. Nero's Shanks and Ivan attacked from the other directions, 4 against 1, and none of them weak. Yonglin couldn't possibly withstand this. Yet his face showed no fear, only a chilling, triumphant grin. Damn, Kael, nearest to him, saw the trap, fall back, now. Crack! A brittle, shattering sound split the air. Yonglin had crushed the blood pearl without an instant of hesitation. The sharp crack stabbed into their ears like splintering bone. A thick blood-colored mist erupted from his fingers, twisting the light with a mad hiss that grated on the nerves. The air turned sticky and suffocating, as if flooded with molten lead. Bathed in the bloodlight, Yonglin's face was ghastly beyond measure. His manic smile, warped by sheer hatred into something barely recognizable, writhed with the churning mist. It tore his features into the visage of a demon crawled from the depths of hell.